Superman. As I expected, the film was very impressive. What will happen next with the cinematic universe is unclear. We'll have to wait and see, but there's no denying that the feature film debut was a great start. In the next few minutes, I'll tell you everything you didn't know about this amazing film by James Gunn. It will be interesting and informative. This is the Feding channel. Let's go! Before David Cornsweet was approved for the role of Superman in this film, Nicholas Hoult, Andrew Richardson, and Tom Brittney auditioned for it. Ultimately, Hoult was cast as Lex Luthor. David Cornsweet found out he had been cast as Superman while filming Twisters. To celebrate the occasion, he shared a video with the other actors. Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan were cast as Clark Kent and Lois Lane, respectively, because of their on-screen chemistry. As James Gunn said, "We combined different actors and actresses to find out not only who was best as Clark and who was best as Lois, but also who looked best together. I think David is the best Clark. Rachel is the best Lois, but together they are the perfect close." Incidentally, David Cornsweet is 6 feet 3 inches tall, making him the second tallest actor to play Superman after Christopher Reeve. When creating Clark Kent, Cornsweet said he was inspired by his brother-in-law, who was 6 feet 6 inches tall, the quietest and kindest man in the world. For the image of Superman, he was inspired by Christopher Reeve. Who would have doubted it?
Hi there. Something wrong with the elevator?
Clark is usually much taller than those around him, but Cornsweet and Hoult are roughly the same height. Therefore, camera tricks were used to make Superman appear much taller than Luthor. For instance, during the final battle in the Luthor Corp control room, Superman stands at the top of the ramp while Luthor stands below him, making Luthor appear much shorter. James Gunn confirmed that the actors auditioning for the role of Superman in this film wore one of Henry Cavill's costumes from Man of Steel. When David Cornsweet tried it on, he accidentally tore it because he was too tall and broad for it. One of the main criticisms of Superman Returns 2006 was that Kate Bosworth, who played Lois Lane, looked too young to be an experienced journalist with a Pulitzer Prize. At the time of filming, Bosworth was only 22 years old. To avoid similar criticism, James Gunn deliberately chose a more mature actress this time around. Rachel Brosnahan was 34 years old during filming. This film could have been released several years earlier. James Gunn originally chose to direct The Suicide Squad, turning down an offer to make a Superman movie. We're talking about the 2021 film, The Suicide Squad. The idea to bring back Superman's iconic red underpants came from David Cornsweet himself, who explained it this way: "I'm an alien. I can fly, lift buildings, and shoot lasers from my eyes that melt everything around me. I don't want children to be afraid of me, so what should I wear?" James Gunn said that his father's death had a profound impact on the script for this film, and the film's release date of July 11, 2025 coincided with his father's birthday. James Gunn thought long and hard about whether to direct the film himself or find someone else. In the end, he decided to take the director's chair himself. Patrick Schwarzenegger, who recently rose to fame for his role in The White Lotus, auditioned for the role of Superman in this film. Interestingly, his father, Arnold Schwarzenegger, also auditioned for the role in the 1978 film Superman. The inclusion of Nathan Fillion in the project as Guy Gardner marks the 7th time Fillion has appeared in a James Gunn film, continuing the tradition of the actor appearing in every Gunn film thanks to their long-standing friendship.
Of the cloth?
Incidentally, Nathan has been directly associated with DC for a very long time. Since 2011, he has voiced Hal Jordan, aka Green Lantern, in several DC animated projects. He was also a contender for the lead role in the unsuccessful film Green Lantern. 5 rings were made for the new Superman film. Nathan kept one of the rings and wore it to the film's premiere. Nathan, by the way, is not the only Gunn favorite in this film. His younger brother Sean Gunn plays Maxwell Lord. Although the DC Universe film franchise is still in its early stages, Sean Gunn has already played 3 characters in it. This was made possible by his dual role in the animated series Creature Commandos, where he voices 2 characters. He also performed the Weasel live in James Gunn's film The Suicide Squad. In Superman, Sean Gunn appears in a short scene near the end. In a news broadcast, he appears as Maxwell Lord and declares that Alex Luthor is a jerk. Sean Gunn has played more roles in James Gunn's films than anyone else. This is probably not least because they are brothers. Nevertheless, Sean has proven time and again that he is cast not only because of his family ties, but also because of his acting talent.
Welcome, Peacemaker, or do you prefer Chris? Either's fine.
Alan Tudyk plays Robot Number 4 in this film. He has worked with Gunn before. Robot Number 1 is played by Michael Rooker, one of James Gunn's most frequent collaborators. He is the same Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy. Pom Klementieff plays Robot Number 5. She made a real splash as Mantis in the Marvel Cinematic Universe under James Gunn's direction. Now, having moved to the DC Universe, the director has not forgotten her either. Bradley Cooper, who voiced Rocket the Raccoon, plays a very important role in this film as the biological father of the main character, Jor-El. Stephen Blackheart plays Sidney Happerson in Superman. He worked with Gunn on his earliest film, Romeo et Juliet. Blackheart played several minor roles in Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy franchise and the minor character Briscoe in The Suicide Squad. Although these films are among the most ambitious of his career. Michaela Hoover plays Daily Planet journalist Kat Grant. This is the actress's 8th role with Gunn. They began working together shortly after Michaela's Hollywood career began. Terrence Rosemore plays Otis Berg in Superman. He began his professional collaboration with James Gunn in the second installment of Guardians of the Galaxy, and Superman is their 5th joint project. And finally, Michael Rosenbaum, a legend. The actor appeared in the film Superman in a cameo role related to his past in this character, although his face is not visible in the frame. Michael voices one of Lex Luthor's Raptor guards. Rosenbaum also had a role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Martinex in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Volume 3. Michael's cameo in Superman is particularly symbolic, as Rosenbaum is best known as the actor who played Lex Luthor in 154 episodes of the TV series Smallville. Now he essentially serves another Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult. Although the role is barely noticeable, it's nice to see Rosenbaum return to the Superman universe. This is the first Superman film since Superman in 2006 that featured John Williams' main theme from a 1978 Superman film as the main leitmotif in the soundtrack. James Gunn called this theme one of the greatest musical compositions of all time and associated it with the character of Superman from the very beginning of work on this film. Incidentally, the two Supermen have very similar costumes, which evoke more associations for the viewer. Personal trainer Paul Masquidi confirmed that David Cornsweet gained 18 kilograms of muscle mass before filming. David trained intensively before we met, but he is naturally very thin. He is 6 feet 3 inches tall, and we wanted to add volume to him. He probably gained weight from 90 to 100 kilograms, but some of that weight was lost as he got into shape. Interestingly, Christopher Reeve went through a similar training program in the late 1970s when he played this character. The presence of the dog Crypto in the film was first revealed by Gunn back in October 2024 on social media. Marked the month by adopting a dog from a shelter. For his first appearance in the film, Crypto was based on Ozu, a dog rescued by Gunn himself, whose appearance was used as the basis for the 3D model of Crypto. Ozu was scanned in 3D and then digitally altered to resemble Crypto from the comics. Crypto is traditionally depicted in comics as a white Labrador or sheepdog, while Ozu is a scruffy and smaller breed of dog. Crypto previously appeared in the 2022 animated film DC League of Super Pets, where he was voiced by Dwayne Johnson. In contrast, Crypto does not speak in this film. So Crypto in the film, you see, is now literally Gunn's adopted dog, Ozu. The dog model was simply painted white. As the director joked, every time Ozu sees himself on screen, he tries to kill himself. David Cornsweet and Nicholas Hoult, who play Clark and Lex, respectively, in this film, admitted that they loved the TV series Smallville as children. They were familiar with the characters of Clark and Lex from that series, played by Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum. Hoult mentioned this to Rosenbaum himself on his podcast. I also love this series, by the way. Maps of Metropolis with street names and a general layout of the city were used on set. Several streets were named after people associated with the Superman franchise, such as George Reeves, Christopher Reeve, David Goyer, Alan Moore, and others. Eddie Gattegi played Michael Holt, aka Mr. Terrific, in this film. On television, his version, named Curtis Holt, was previously played by Echo Kellum in the series Arrow. Mr. Terrific is a brilliant superhero known for his intelligence and ingenuity. He has 14 doctorates. He is a master of physics, engineering, and other fields. He uses high-tech devices, tests spheres that fly, fight, analyze, and hack. Interestingly, Isabella Merced, who played Hawkgirl, had previously auditioned for the lead role in Batgirl, a film that unfortunately never saw the light of day. She has finally made it into the DC universe. First trailer for the movie Superman received 250 million views online within the first 24 hours. It is the second best result among all non-Disney movies, surpassed only by Spider-Man: No Way Home, which received an impressive 356 million views. James Gunn announced that principal photography began on February 29, 2024. This coincided with Clark Kent's birthday. According to Gunn, this was a complete coincidence. Indeed, this date underscores his uniqueness and distinctiveness. After all, February 29 only occurs every 4 years. Interestingly, the first viewers in several countries saw the film on July 8. This is David Corenswit's birthday, who played Clark in the film. According to Nicholas Holt, he was inspired to create the character of Lex Luthor by a scene from the comic book All-Star Superman, in which Lex compares his royal muscles to Superman's body. The actor noted, "This scene very accurately conveys the essence of Lex for me." Actor Anthony Carrigan, who starred in the TV series Gotham and Flash, spoke about the complex makeup required for his role as Metamorpho in the Superman film. "They applied layers to me, then drew details on top of that and glued something else on," he said. "They literally taped, sewed, and bandaged me up, but it was all for this incredible costume." Carrigan, who suffers from alopecia, hair loss, also noted that James Gunn chose him for the role of Metamorpho precisely because he knows firsthand what it means to feel different, not like everyone else. "It was something that James and I understood without words. He wanted Metamorpho to be a hero who struggles and suffers internally. Although the film did not show the hero's full backstory, there are still references to his origins. For example, Stag Industries, an important player in the comics, made an appearance. Metamorpho appeared here as an already established hero. Carrigan, a self-proclaimed fan of practical effects, said that transforming into Metamorpho took 5 to 6 hours in the makeup chair every day. It was worth it. The brain senses the texture of the real material, and it works on screen, he added. To prepare for her role as Lois Lane, Rachel Brosnahan interviewed real journalists. Incidentally, although Lois was sometimes depicted as a smoker in the comics, the creators decided against this in this version. One of the film's key aspects was its exploration of the romantic and professional relationship between Lois and Clark. According to the plot, the characters had been dating for several months when the story begins, and their relationship is at the heart of the film. According to the numerous references in this film, Will Ree's appearance in Superman was first reported in the summer of 2024 by the Cleveland newspaper The Plain Dealer. Filming took place in Cleveland's public square. Will, the youngest child of the late Superman actor Christopher Reeve, was only 3 years old when his father was injured in an accident that left him paralyzed for life. In this film, Will Reeve plays a television news reporter. In real life, Reeve works as a television correspondent for ABC News. The full name of Otis Berg, a member of Lex Luthor's team at Luthor Corp, is a reference to Otisburg, a coastal town that Ned Beatty's character, Otis, drew on a map of his boss's evil plan in the 1978 film Superman. When creating the character of Guy Gardner, Nathan Fillion was inspired by Sophia Petrillo, played by Estelle Getty in the 1985 television series Golden Girls. It is also known that Nathan Fillion insisted that his Guy Gardner in the film have the same hairstyle as in the comics. The Ultraman mask in the film resembles the mask of Doomsday, the Kryptonian monster who defeated Superman in the comics. This was a deliberate move. In the comics, Ultraman is an evil alternate version of Kal-El. In the film, however, he is a clone created by Lex Luthor, similar to some versions of Bizarro, who was created in the comics as a mirror image of Superman. James Gunn named Godzilla -1 2023 as one of the main sources of inspiration for his film. He explained, "I tried to combine elements such as giant monsters, robots, flying dogs, and other superheroes. My goal was to make a film like Godzilla -1. It features Godzilla, but there is also a strong human drama." James Gunn also mentioned Top Gun Maverick as a source of inspiration for how flying is depicted in the film. He was also inspired by the work of previous Superman directors Richard Donner and Zack Snyder, particularly noting Snyder's action scenes. This is the first film about Superman since the 1987 project Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, in which the yellow S symbol reappeared on the hero's cape. This is also the first full-fledged appearance of the character in cinema since the film Superman Returns, played by Skylar Gisondo. In the film Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, he can only be seen in the extended version of the film. In a recent interview, Skylar Gisondo said that he initially thought the audition for the role of Jimmy Olsen was for the role of Superman. I glanced at the letter. First of all, when you audition for a movie like a superhero movie, everything is kept top secret. They give you almost no information. I was sent a letter with materials from the audition. For some reason, I decided it was for the role of Superman. I don't know why. As a result, he recorded a video audition thinking he was auditioning for the role of the Man of Steel, and only later found out he was wrong, after he had already been invited to move on to the next stage. Later, the actor told this story to James Gunn, who, according to him, laughed louder and more sincerely than he had ever seen or heard before. During filming, it was announced that the CW series Superman and Lois would end after its 4th season, despite initial plans for 7 seasons. CW Entertainment President Brad Schwartz explained this by citing the release of a new film and the fact that Warner Brothers did not want 2 Superman projects on the market at the same time. Actress Bitsy Tulloch, who played Lois in the series, defended the film and blamed the project's cancellation not on the film itself, but on management changes, the sale of the CW to Nexstar, and the change in Warner Brothers leadership during the project's release. By the way, Superman in that series turned out to be pretty cool. Even before the release of James Gunn's Superman, a teaser appeared online showing the hero flying away from the Fortress of Solitude, and users felt that he looked silly there due to the particular filming style, the actor's strange position, and his facial expression. Now, David Corenswet admits that filming flight scenes is really difficult. In an interview with Jimmy Fallon, the actor said, "It's impossible to look perfect. If you're too calm, it doesn't look like flying, and if you overdo it, it's very easy to look silly." He also joked that the director and cinematographer often shot close-ups with a wide-angle lens, which adds comedy, but creates a sense of presence on the big screen. It's hard not to notice that the new film shows Superman as much weaker than in the previous one, but not as weak as it seemed earlier. Many scenes in the promotional materials depicted the hero wounded and bleeding, which caused viewers to doubt his strength, especially in comparison with Henry Cavill's version. However, the film itself put everything in its place. According to the plot, Superman, played by David Corenswet, has been fighting evil for 3 years and has not lost a single battle until he encounters Hammer of Bavaria, who seriously injures him. It later turns out that this enemy is actually Ultraman, a genetic clone of Superman himself, created by Lex Luthor. In fact, the hero only lost to himself, which means his strength is still impressive. James Gunn deliberately made his Superman more vulnerable, both physically and emotionally, but that doesn't mean he's weak. The film also depicts another dangerous moment. Metamorpho turns his hand into kryptonite and injures Superman, but only because he was forced to do so at gunpoint. In the film's finale, it becomes clear that kryptonite no longer exists on Earth, and that Ultraman has been drawn into another dimension. This means the 2 main threats to Superman have been eliminated. In future films, the hero will be able to showcase his full potential more strongly and confidently than ever before. The ending of Superman emphasizes the importance of the hero's vulnerability. During the climax, Superman faces off against Lex Luthor and saves Metropolis from a black hole. During a confrontation, Superman declares that his humanity lies in his ability to feel fear, make mistakes, and make choices every day. These qualities make him strong, both physically and morally. This scene would be less meaningful without the moments where Superman suffers defeat and shows weakness. But thanks to them, it becomes clear that his main strength lies not in his superpowers but in his will, humanity, and the lessons he learned from his earthly parents. This is what made him a true symbol of hope in the new DC cinematic universe. In the film's finale, Lois Lane asks Superman for an interview. This scene was filmed at the Arcade in Cleveland, which is the oldest indoor shopping mall in the United States and was built in 1890. The actor who stole the show in Superman initially thought he was auditioning for a villainous role. Eddie Gathegi, who played Mr. Terrific, said that he received a script marked Apex Lex during the casting process and assumed he was auditioning for the role of the supervillain Lex Luthor. Gathegi even assumed this was a new version of Lex in costume. In the end, however, he found out he was auditioning for the role of the hero. Thanks to his performance, this role became one of the most memorable in the film. This is not the only case. Superman actors often find out about their roles after auditions, which speaks to the secrecy of casting in the new DC cinematic universe. As I mentioned, this happened with Jimmy Olsen. In the middle of the film, Lois Lane is surprised that Superman has a dog. He replies that he is looking after Krypto. In the film's finale, Kara, played by Millie Alcock, appears on screen, making her debut in the new DC cinematic universe ahead of her own Supergirl film next year. When Superman takes Krypto from the Fortress of Solitude, it becomes clear that he was just looking after Supergirl's dog while she was having fun on planets with red suns, where Kryptonians lose their powers and can, for example, get drunk. This is a direct reference to Tom King's comic book, Supergirl, A Woman of Tomorrow, on which the future film is based. Initially, it was even supposed to have the same title, and the script was written by King himself. In the first issue, Supergirl does indeed get drunk on a foreign planet, depressed and without a purpose in life. Krypto is by her side, remaining her only companion. It seems that everything will develop in a similar way in the DC cinematic universe, but this raises concerns about Krypto's fate, especially given the events at the end of the first issue. Will the Supergirl played by Millie Alcock become a superhero version of John Wick? We will find out soon. When asked what this version of Supergirl would be like, Gunn replied that she is, to put it mildly, complicated. It's a complete disaster, to be honest. As we learn, our past is completely different from Superman's. It's much more difficult. Superman had a wonderful upbringing with two loving, emotionally healthy parents. But for her, everything was different. As a result, she turned out completely different from her cousin. Rachel Brosnahan, who played Lois Lane in the film Superman, hinted that her character could gain superpowers in future DC films. In an interview with the cast, Gunn confirmed that he often thinks about this, and Brosnahan herself enthusiastically supported the idea, referring to comics where Lois became a superwoman, such as All-Star Superman. The film immediately shows that Lois and Clark are already in a relationship and that she actively interacts with other superheroes. All of this could be preparation for Lois also becoming a superhero. In the comics, she has already gained powers, albeit briefly, from temporarily transforming into kryptonite to gaining Superman's abilities through projects such as the one where Amanda Waller redistributes powers among heroes. David Cornsweet's debut as Superman resolved the main point of contention surrounding Henry Cavill's portrayal of the character. Specifically, we are referring to the scene in Man of Steel where Zod is killed. However, James Gunn's new film showed Superman as a hero who strives to save everyone. Even during large-scale battles, he avoids killing. This emphasized the difference from Zack Snyder's darker interpretation, helping Cornsweet establish a more classic human version of Superman, free from previous contradictions. In an interview on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, David Cornsweet talked about when and how he first saw Superman. According to the actor, he watched the film from the back row of a regular IMAX screening with his friends, closely observing the audience's reaction. Despite feeling unsure about his performance during the first viewing, he felt much more confident about the final result the second time around. The premiere of Superman was my first viewing and I felt a little unsure, so I needed to watch it again. I snuck into the back row of an IMAX screening near Philadelphia with a couple of friends. Okay, I didn't sneak in, we bought tickets. It was great. The second time around, I liked the movie even more. James Gunn's Superman film is already laying the groundwork for the next release in the DC universe. First and foremost, we're talking about the second season of Peacemaker, which will be released in 2025. Although Superman is the first feature film in the new universe, it logically continues the events of Suicide Squad, Creature Commandos, and the first season of Peacemaker. The film features General Rick Flag Sr., the future head of Argus, who opposed Luthor's anti-meta-human policy. His statement that metahumans now set the rules sets the tone for further conflicts. Superman also introduces the Justice League, a team of superheroes that includes Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, and the Metamorpho. They will also appear in Peacemaker Season 2, where they are already interviewing John Cena's character. Finally, the Peacemaker himself makes a cameo appearance in Superman, commenting on the shocking revelation about Kal-El's Kryptonian origins. This confirms that the character's version remains the same as in the first season. Thus, Superman not only launched a new chapter in the DC universe, but also directly linked himself to future projects in the franchise. Shortly after the film's release, the salaries of the main actors in the new Superman movie became known. David Corenswet received $750,000 for his role as Superman. Rachel Brosnahan, who played Lois Lane, also received $750,000, while Nicholas Hoult, who played Lex Luthor, earned $2 million. In addition, all three are entitled to bonuses if the film performs well at the box office. Something similar happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Remember, at the beginning of its existence, stars such as Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, and even Robert Downey Jr. received relatively modest fees. For example, Downey Jr. received $500,000 for the lead role in Iron Man. According to Business Insider, Terrence Howard, who played James Rhodes in the same film, reportedly received as much as $4.5 million at the time. Almost 2 decades later, Downey's receiving around $500 million for the films Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. So let's wish the new stars of the DC Universe good luck. James Gunn's Superman movie ended up having a solid start at the box office and became one of the best releases of 2025. It made $123 million in the US and $217 million worldwide in its first weekend. The film was the first project in the new DC Cinematic Universe and showed excellent prospects. It had a budget of $225 million. To break even, it needs to gross approximately $560 million. Critics and audiences gave the film positive reviews, which helped word of mouth. James Gunn, by the way, recently published a message of gratitude to fans for the warm reception of the Superman film. He noted that he was happy to create a film that focuses not only on the hero's superpowers, but also on his humanity, kindness, care, and desire to help people. According to Gunn, the fact that this version of Superman resonated with audiences around the world speaks to the strength and kindness that exists in people. He concluded by saying, "Thank you for your enthusiasm and kind words. It gives me hope." Whether or not we can expect a sequel depends on the final box office results, and the film is still playing in theaters. Nevertheless, there is good news from David Corenswet, who plays Superman. In a Vanity Fair interview in which Corenswet and Nicholas Hoult, who plays Lex Luthor, took a lie detector test, Corenswet admitted that his contract extends to the sequel. He stated, "I already have a contract to shoot the sequel." Although the actor may be involved in the sequel, a number of factors could still prevent it from being developed as originally planned, similar to how Man of Steel 2 was never realized. Let's hope that this does not happen again, and that Superman will finally have a bright future ahead of him. Thanks for watching. Until next time, fade out.